As I believe I've mentioned before, I'm a redundancy freak when it comes to backups. That's why every file on every one of all of my drives is backed up automatically to at least 2 locations, and in many cases 3 or more. Now, I have all of my media, movies, music, and stuff like that on external disks, so my backup situation may be more complicated than yours. But even if you only have one disk to back up, the strategies and utilities I use and we'll tell you about in this lesson, I still recommend. I think everything applies whether you have one disk or many. Everything that's of value to you needs to be backed up. So my startup disk is backed up once an hour by Time Machine. It alternates between a USB hard disk and my network attached drive, which is a hard disk that I access via network. And I can access it over the internet too. I consider those my first and second lines of defense. They are 2 backups that are here, they're local, they're no more than 1 or 2 hours old. And so for a single file, if I need to recover just 1 or 2 things, or if I need a version of something, a previous version, Time Machine's usually the best way, and it's the fastest. For what it's worth, I had a time capsule for a while, but it was flaky, and I believe they're discontinued. The biggest problem was that every few months, like clockwork, I would get an error message that looked like this. And that is something you just don't want to see from your backup software. So I would have to erase the disk and start a new backup, which is not only a pain, it means that I lose all my backup history and have to start over. Rant on. Apple is rumored to be getting out of the airport business completely, which would mean that time capsule would be an end-of-life product. My advice, stay away from time capsule. It hasn't been updated in years, and it's really not worth the premium price unless it's on sale at a deep discount. I don't think that that's a product that's going to be around much longer. All right, rant off. Now, in addition to the 2 Time Machine backups, since of course a single redundancy isn't redundant enough for me, I also back up everything to a cloud-based service called Backblaze. You'd think 3 backups might be enough, but you'd be wrong. See, none of those backups has the special secret sauce I need to get back to work on any Mac in minutes, namely bootability. So that's why I use a program called Carbon Copy Cloner to create a bootable clone of my startup disk every night at 2 a.m. So that means I have pretty much 4 backups, 2 Time Machine backups, a local clone, and a backup in the cloud. For what it's worth, I have more. There's another complete set of backups with everything and a bootable clone in the safe deposit box at the bank. Okay, so and all my photos and music and everything else. Those offsite backup disks are updated and tested, I'd say 3 or 4 times a year. And all but the offsite backups run automatically on my Mac in the background, and all but Time Machine alert me via email if they have a problem with a backup. So because iTunes and my photo libraries and stuff like that change a lot less often than the files on my startup disk, I only back them up twice a week, once or twice a week, once a week I think. And because you can never be redundant enough, I also use Google Photos backup and Flickr Uploader, which are both free, to store copies of my, let's say, 100,000 photos in the cloud. Those aren't full resolution, so they're not really a backup, but if everything else blew away, those are 2 more sets of all my photos that exist in the cloud. In Lesson 6, I'm going to tell you about the products I use for backup and why I use them. But before I do, let me just say that Lesson 6 isn't by any means a comprehensive review of backup software. There are so many programs out there, and a lot of them are good, and some of them may be excellent, but it's so important to me that when I find something that works, that gains my trust, that's the one I'm going to tell you about. So all I'm going to tell you about is stuff that I use every day that has earned my trust over years and years and millions of backed up files.